Okay. For those who don't know me, my name is Abba. I'm the community manager for the Tackling Loneliness Hub, and I work for an organisation called Neighbourly Lab. And in partnership with Sheffield Hallam University Centre for Loneliness Studies, we manage the Tackling Loneliness Hub. So just a bit of housekeeping before we start. Please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat whilst the webinar is going on. Please, of course, have conversations in the chat. Feel free to share any links or resources. Everything that we share in the chat, we will share later on in our stigma and prejudice group on the hub. So please join it, because we will also record the webinar and share that there later as well. And at the end of the webinar, there'll be a short survey that will pop up on your screen. It'll be great if you could just take 60 seconds to fill it out, just to let us know how we're doing and if we could make any other improvements. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Antonia, who will share more information on the webinar.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session today in our Tackling Loneliness Hub web series. So this is a series that we've created with Neighbourly Lab on translating research into practice. My name is Antonia Ypsilanti, and I will be chairing the event today. So this series we've created is all about bridging the gap between what research tells us about loneliness in different populations, and how we can use that knowledge to make a real difference in our communities. So today we'll be focusing, as you all know, on the veteran community, and I would like to thank our speakers today, which is my very, very close and friend and collaborator, Richard Gettings, who is going to represent hopefully both a merge of a researcher perspective, but also a person with lived experience of loneliness. And I would also like to welcome Teri and Mark Humphreys, who are going to be our second speakers, second people of speaking about their own experiences of loneliness. And they will introduce themselves when the time comes. Just to let you know that I will be monitoring the chat and kind of bringing those questions forward at the end of the webinar, so that we can allow our speakers to take their time and express what they want to express. And so all Q&A can go into the chat, and then I'll merge everything together in the end. So Richard, over to you.
Thank you, Antonia. I hope everybody can hear me okay. Technology is me. Being of a certain age, technology constantly goes to war with my generation. So it's lovely and fantastic to be speaking to you all this afternoon. My name's Richard Gettings, and I'll keep this brief. I'm an embedded researcher at Sheffield Hallam University, working with the Doncaster Health Determinants Research Collaboration team. So I work in research around communities within mental health, within trauma, suicide, and post-traumatic stress disorder. And I do that because that's my own lived experience, my own journey. I was a police officer, not a veteran, but when my own mental health blew up, and I'm so glad to see Combat Stress here, it was Combat Stress and the veteran community that stepped in to support me. And I went to the Audley Court premises in Shropshire before it closed, unfortunately, a few years ago. That was my lifeline, and the community of veterans who I know and I'm so proud to be friends with, such as Mark and Teri, that all came from going to Audley Court and Combat Stress. So thank you to Combat Stress. Fantastic having you on board. That's enough from me. This is going to be a conversation piece between myself, Mark and Teri. But firstly, let's introduce Mark and Teri. Over to yourselves.
Hi, my name's Mark. As Richard just said, I'm a veteran, and I met Richard when he was doing his PTSD study, and we become good friends. So yeah, I was in the army for 17 years. I didn't realize I had PTSD until many years after I'd come out, when it exploded on the scene. And my wife here, who she'll introduce herself now, is literally like a human encyclopedia now when it comes to PTSD, because she looked it all up. So here she is.
Hi, my name's Teri. I'm Mark's wife. I'm proud to be a veteran's wife. Mark and I met long after we'd come out of the service. My lived experience is the experience that I have had with Mark and his complex PTSD. his experience of lack of support during that time, and then how we have worked together as a couple to find ways to help other veterans and the veteran community through a mixture of things that will become more apparent later on as we talk.
Thank you so much, Mark and Teri. It's very important for me to say as well, a bit of a trigger warning, if you like. It's become obvious already, I'm sure, that we are going to be talking about trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, and suicide prevention from a lived experience perspective, all three of us. So please be aware of that. Mark has Teri with him. You can see they're together. So Teri is significantly Mark's support in case Mark gets upset today, which may happen because of some of the stuff we're going to talk about. But please make sure that you're aware of these issues that we're going to talk about and have some way of either disengaging from the chat, turning the sound off, or going and making yourself a cup of tea and perhaps coming back. That said, let's start the presentation. So what we're going to talk about today, I hope you can see that screen. We're going to talk about Mark and Teri's lived experience through this journey they've been on and are still going through now. We're going to put a little bit of academic input to that, but again, we're going to do it. We hope to do it within a conversational approach. I want to hear Mark and Teri's perspectives of academia, because this is important. This is all about Mark and Teri for me. Then we're going to talk about the fantastic stuff that both Mark and Teri are doing through wheelchair rugby, community cycling, art therapy, photography, as you can see. Some incredibly inspirational work that they're doing that has implications around the UK for how we really can support our veteran community. Going to talk a little bit about the postcode lottery of veteran care around the UK, albeit that is improving steadily, and also some promising developments at the end. Hopefully we'll have about 10 minutes for questions at the end, and that depends how much myself, Mark and Teri get carried away while we're talking. So this is all about these two incredible people that I was privileged to meet after I went to Audley Court and was helped by combat stress. So we want to make it a conversation piece. So let's start off the conversation. Mark, tell me about your military journey, my friend.
Well, I was brought up in care. So when I was 15, all I ever wanted to do was be in the army. So I joined the junior leaders, which I was in junior para. I did my training. And because I was in care and I was in the army at the same time, once I'd passed all my training, I couldn't go to Ireland. I wasn't allowed because of the care order at the time. So they sent me to college because I wanted to be PTI. So I went to college, my local college, from Monday to Friday. Saturday and Sunday I went back to camp and did normal duties. And it was at the end of my final year. I was just finishing my last practical exam when I was met by a chief superintendent and a brigadier and military police and told me that I was going to the Falklands. At first, I didn't know where it was. I thought it was Scotland. And he went, no, not Falkirk, the Falklands. So that was my first introduction into my military life, really. The 2 weeks I had going down there was my 2 weeks of getting to know everybody. And yeah, Falklands wasn't very nice at all, especially I was only 18. And then I came out of there, we left Falklands and I did tours of Northern Ireland, Cyprus, Bosnia, First Gulf. I left the army in 1995. And as I was saying before, I didn't realise that once I'd left the army in 1995, that was the first time in my life that I'd been on my own. Because before then I was in an institution all the time, whether it be care or the army. So leaving Bosnia, I was after my second tour of Bosnia and I had to go into hospital to get my knee done. And literally from the hospital, I was just discharged into Civvy Street. And that was hard. That was really hard. It was, everything just came bang. And I didn't fit. I didn't understand anything that was going on. So yeah, that was my journey in the army. So
thank you so much for that, Mark. And say I've known you, it must be 7, 8 years, something like that, I'd guess. And we had a good chat last night and got quite emotional. Yeah, we've become extremely good friends. family, basically. That's how I'd put it. Teri, do you want to add anything to what Mark's just said?
Only that a lot of people don't understand when you join the forces that you go in as one person. You go in as the person that's been brought up by your family, friends, the community and culture that you've been surrounded by. You go into the service, you're broken, rebuilt, and made into the person they need you to become, for you to become the fighting machine they need. But until fairly recently, these people have then come out of the service back into civilian life, not broken again and remade back into the person they were before they went in. You come out a completely different person than when you joined. And I don't think there's enough support. And there certainly wasn't enough support back in the 90s, early 2000s for anybody who was coming out of the service at that time, which is why I think that there is such a huge veteran community that has need.
Well said, Teri. When we spoke last night, and you've already mentioned it, Mark, we spoke about transition points, didn't we?
Yeah.
And you mentioned it yourself. I'm going to talk about research, but research basically, in essence, and it won't be a surprise, shows that this is across all communities, but particularly relevant with the veteran community. When you go through transition, and veterans go through a major transition when they leave the military and become a veteran, those moments and those transitions become extremely sensitive for that individual, that man or that woman, and they potentially become vulnerable, because going from everything to nothing, a vacuum is created. And that can be a time when trauma, demons, darkness can enter potentially. So tell us a little bit more about that, Mark and Teri.
Well, when I first came out, I'd always had, when I was in, I had mates that had, really good friends, like a family and everything else. And then, especially on my journey, because I'd never grown up with my family. So only my kid brother Graham, I'd never had a family environment. So when I came out, there was nothing. I was alone, and that was the first time I think that I'd ever experienced loneliness, because I didn't think I fitted. People didn't understand me. They didn't get me, because I was still in the military zone kind of thing, because that's all I'd ever known. So trying to get by into civilian street after that was hard, because I didn't think I fitted, and some of the stuff that I'd done when I was in the army, there was no need for them skills in city street. So where did you go? What did I do? What was I supposed to do? And there was no one there to help me. I'd married just before I come out, and luckily, because that was my last place, I was based just outside my hometown, so I didn't have to have married quarters. So I didn't have that kind of thing either. But coming out and being on your own, and not having to know how to manage your own financial things for the start, not buying my own clothes. I mean, that was, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was, plus the fact I'm colorblind, so whatever I was buying didn't match anyway. So
No,
and
he's still like that now.
for simple things like that, it's so hard, and unless you go through it, it's really hard to explain to somebody who hasn't. And you might as well sometimes be talking a different language to them, because they just cannot put themselves in your shoes, and vice versa. I couldn't put myself in their shoes either. So it's very hard. And
Well
there
said.
was a couple of times where I didn't want to be here. I really didn't. I knew I didn't fit. I knew I wasn't going anywhere, and I knew that I was getting angrier and angrier. And there was times where I just wanted to just go off somewhere and never come back, and it was hard.
Teri, do you want to jump in there?
Like I was saying just now about how when you go into the military, that you go in as one person, come out as another. I've seen guys who have literally been on camp on the Friday, and then on the Saturday they've been sent home with no support structure. And it's these people that end up with, because they have no support or they have got nowhere to go. Maybe they don't have a family to go back to, but they go back to their hometown because that's what they think they should do. They end up with going down the road of alcohol and drugs because it's a comfort. They're looking for a comfort. And that's when things start to go downhill for a lot of these people.
I think if they want to be accepted again, because when you come out, you're part of a club. You're part of an organisation.
Well, you've got your own language, haven't you?
Yeah, and then when you come out, that's not there. So you're trying to be accepted, and you'll do all different things to get accepted, and sometimes they're not the right things. And
yeah, so. I think as well, like having been part of the veteran community for quite a few years now, the one thing that as a civilian I discovered was the veteran banter. It's a completely different language to civilian people. Not all of us civilians speak the same way. And actually, because it's a unique way of talking to each other, like the way they jibe at each other and, just take the mickey out of each other, like a lot of people don't get that. They don't understand that kind of language even, and I think as well, when people have served during war, whatever war that was, they carry an awful lot of shame. But because they're taught about the stiff upper lip, or you're an army guy, or you're in the Navy, stiff upper lip, they're not allowed to talk about it. If they talk about it, it's shameful. And I think that is where that's a huge barrier to a lot of people.
Thank you so much for that. What we're going to do is we're going to wrap a little bit of research around what we're talking about. And we're also going to showcase a significant amount of positivity in the good work that goes on with people like Mark and Teri at the heart of it. And Teri is here. We've got the representative from Combat Stress, Mike, I think. And there's a lot of good work going on out in the pockets around the UK. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of this. A busy screen, but basically it's to show that there's a lot of good work going on out there. And we were very privileged after my sojourn at Combat Stress at Audley Court, having met people like Mark, Teri, and other fantastic veterans living with PTSD, complex PTSD, indeed, most of them. We were very privileged through the Deparian Foundation that we founded to work initially with the Northern Hub for Veterans and Military Families Research up at Northumbria on a couple of Armed Forces Covenant funded studies. The one's in the top left-hand corner, the Tackling Loneliness program that you can see. And Mark was one of the participants for that study. And it's so important, vitally important, that we have the lived experience of the men and women who know what it's like at the center of these dialogues. And we managed to engage with Northumbria University upon that study. Just tell me, Mark, from your experience, how was that experience? What was good about it and what could be made better, my friend?
On which one are you on about now? Sorry.
On the loneliness study that you contributed.
On the loneliness study, I didn't even realise until you started doing that about how lonely I had been, to be honest. But once I, we got involved with that and you came down, and it wasn't just a case that you came down here and then you did an interview and then you went. You came down here, you did all that, and then it grew. And I met other people in the same boat. So it was like, I'm not alone. There's a lot more people like me out there. And you introduced me to that. And you helped me realize that, yes, there's loneliness here and we need to tackle it in a different way. We need to hit it head on. And sometimes we have to say horrible things and things that might upset other people for this to get noticed. And sometimes it has to be done. And today's a prime example of that. It needs to be out there more. We need to get more people on board to help us. And as I said to you yesterday, it's not just about the veterans community, the loneliness. It affects us all. It's even our family. When I was serving, my brother Graham, the fact that I wasn't there, and because of our upbringing, he struggled a lot because I wasn't with him, you know, and you don't realize that until after you did what you did. And it's amazing, and it's still going on, and everyone should know how good that thing is that you're doing, because it's just unbelievable.
Thank you, Mark. Teri, have you got anything to add?
Yeah, I think like going back to that first time when we first met you, because it is about 8 years ago, isn't it? I think one of the things that highlighted for me was the fact that I was also on my own. When PTSD exploded into our lives, because it did literally explode into our lives one day, we call it Mark's excursion. He went on a little excursion for a few months, and then came home, and I tried to get help for him. I had to fight for that help, and still have to fight for that help. Years later, I'm still fighting for him and still fighting for his help. I realised that although we have family hubs, it's not the same as sitting with other veterans' wives and having a conversation about how tough your day's been, or how tough that week's been, or we're in fireworks season at the moment. That's always a minefield. That we're heading into Remembrance Day. That's also a minefield. Anniversaries of different conflicts is a minefield. And actually, there have been times when I have been desperately, desperately lonely and forgotten as a veteran's wife. I think we're an afterthought sometimes.
Well said. And I know on many of the chats we've managed to have face-to-face and online, we've brought up the family side. We've brought up the side of the children, the partners, the wives, the husbands, etc., who often suffer in silence, who are often still not even now considered enough in the systems, in the processes. And maybe this is something we can start to build some momentum through this and through what will come from this. So thank you so much for that. What you're seeing there, for me, we've spoken a little bit about academic input, and academic input definitely shows that transition moments are very delicate times for all communities, especially veterans. But this is a painting, and there's a few lads from Deparian Foundation on this chat. I've seen Gaz already. A lovely gentleman called Steve Stonestreet. Got to give him a name recognition. He's a fantastic artist. He's not a veteran, but he has very close links with the veteran community. Steve painted this specifically, bespokely for the Deparian Foundation. It must be about 8, 9, 10 years ago, roughly, at a guess. And basically, I asked to Steve was, can you encapsulate veteran loneliness in a painting from what you know? And he came up with this incredible painting. And every time I see it, the tears are there. Rather than research or talking about it, for me, this painting encapsulates why a veteran, a lad or a lass, a man or a woman from a military background, why they're uniquely affected by their experiences, by their journey, and by loneliness. Mark and Teri, do you want to say anything about what we've got up on screen right now?
Well, that painting there, I mean, I remember when it first came out, and you know, as does Gaz and Darren and that, and every time I look at that, that is basically me when I was in the Falklands, and I come home and I would sit in the park. And do you remember that photograph I took a while back where I split it, and there's a picture of me without my berry on, and then there's a picture of me with my berry on, looking at the reflection? That is the same.
I love that. I did.
And that is the same kind of the same thing, you know. I'm looking as a veteran in Civvy Street, and where do I fit? With everything that's going on around me, you know. And that photo is just spot on, because every single day I have them feelings every day.
Yeah. I'm gonna put something more positive on now. Now there's
hey, there's the boys.
now, you can describe this better than me, but in a nutshell, to the audience, through the work and through meeting Mark, Mark then met another inspirational man, Dave Coomer,
Yeah.
both Falklands veterans. They met on remembrance, I believe, hence the fantastic attire and the fantastic array of medals. Tell us more about this, Mark, and what it meant to you, that meeting.
Well, I obviously knew Dave before I went down there, and I had not physically met him,
No.
but we've been talking and stuff, and then we both found out we're going on the same parade. Dave was doing it with the Naval Association, I think it was, and I was doing it with Help for Heroes. And as luck had it, we were like in the next street away from each other as well. So I was in one hotel, he was in another, and we were right next to each other. And we met up and we had a few beers. I just turned into quite a few beers, and we only paid like for one, so that was all right.
Yeah.
And we just hit it off. And Dave was in the Falklands, and you know he was very traumatized about what happened in the Falklands. But at that time, this was the minute that this photo here is while we were waiting for the taxi to go to the parade, and we were just laughing. And even though we were talking about things that had gone on when we were both down south, it was just one of them moments where, yeah, he's my brother from another mother, and the man is a legend, and I absolutely love him. He's my friend, and yes, he's that whole photo there to me. Just that's what friendship is about. And we both thought we were on our own, and then we both met each other like that, and no, that friendship will last for life.
Well said. And again, going back to the research a little bit, research shows, and it won't be a surprise again because the people in this audience will know this better than me, one of the, not a remedy, not an antidote, but a solution to mitigate loneliness is to connect. It's to connect with yourself. It's to connect with those who understand you, your peer group, you're with your community, with where you live, etc. And this photograph, to me, shows all that. This is about connection, and this is about how we combat loneliness. So, holistic activities, which basically, holistic is another long academic word, but it's basically activities that we can do that put our mind in a better place. And it can be anything from A to Z, cookery, art, photography, and we'll talk about some of those. Here you can see Mark getting extremely violent with some of his fantastic friends in wheelchairs. And if any of you have if any of you not seen wheelchair rugby, please go and see it because it's a sport like no other. It is absolutely incredible. Mark, tell us about wheelchair rugby and what it does for you.
Right. Well, I used to play and I loved it. I was a defender, as in that first photograph there. I was in my little defending chair. And it is the only, we have to say this, I'm sorry, this is typical army banter because our team was veterans. So, and this was the only way we could describe it to other people was it is the only sport where you are legally allowed to batter a disabled person. And that was our army thing, and that's what we said. And a prime example of that was there was a guy who had sepsis and had both legs amputated, and he took up the sport of wheelchair rugby. And on the first time in the British Championships, which all these photographs are in the British Championships, he didn't have a proper chair, so we just sat him in the chair and put paper cups in for his stumps to go in. And he was in the chair and he got hit and he flew out the chair. And we just burst out laughing because it was so funny. And the civilian people that were watching couldn't believe that we were laughing at him. So we just looked at him, we picked him up, stuck him back into the little pod things, and one of our guys went, "I've got some tape." So we had got duct tape and duct taped his legs to the side of the wheelchair, and then picked him up by his elbows to make sure he didn't fall out again. And he went, "Is that?" He goes, "Yes, right," and he carried on. And that was his introduction to it. So wheelchair rugby gives you a sense of belonging again. It gives you the sense of teamwork, and you do belong, even when you're on your own. And I'm not allowed to play it now because of what happened to me a few years ago. So now I coach it, and that second picture is me on trying to get up off the floor when I'm kneeling down, because it's okay for them being in the chair sitting down, but when I get kneeled down to them to get back up again is a nightmare. So, but yes, it's very powerful. It's a very powerful tool. People meet, and you get them, that family again, and you know every single person that you play against becomes your best friend. You know, on the court, you're battering them, but when you finished and you line up against each other again, you shake each other's hand, you laugh and you joke, and that helps so much. Laughter is an amazing tool when you are feeling down. And while I used to play wheelchair rugby, I was constantly laughing. So
well said, Mark. You've mentioned purpose, I think there. You mentioned laughter, you've mentioned banter. All these things are right at the core.
Yeah.
So cycling, tell me a little bit about the community cycling as well then.
Well, cycling started off when we were in lockdown. And because we had PTSD, we were allowed to go out cycling with another person, as long as we kept 3 meters apart. So as you can imagine, we didn't keep 3 meters apart because we didn't do that. We're veterans, so we just. But
they're like naughty schoolboys when they get together.
If they give us rules, I'm going to break them. As simple as that, really. And people see us riding our bikes down. They take one look at us coming towards them and think, "Oh my God, what is coming up this way?" And people stop and talk to you because we're different. You know, you can see by them bikes there. People are going, "What the hell is that?" And you know, the guy in the middle, he's got a hand bike. His legs don't work, so he uses a hand bike. And what we tend to do is, like, especially this time of year, we go up the bike trail, and we've got a place called Squirrel's Rest, and we've got a remembrance cross on there. So if we don't feel like going on the Hoe to do a remembrance service, we get on our bikes and we go up there, and we get there for 11 o'clock, and that's where we have our remembrance, and we have a good laugh and a good giggle, and we remember. And that started off, as I say, with just 4 or 5 members, I think it is. Now we've got well over 400 or 500 members around the UK. So
that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Teri,
it's great.
That's me.
tell us about. I'm trying to rush. I'm conscious.
Oh, sorry. Okay, right, Mark, stop talking.
No problem. There's no problem. There's so much we can talk about here.
Oh, right. Okay. So, I'm a full-time artist, and I am a director of a little community interest company called Creative Roots, which was born out of an idea of me wanting to reach out into the community and engage the community more in art projects. It gave me then the opportunity to work with veterans, because there is a guy in Plymouth called Mike Vosper. He runs an organisation, well, not an organisation, it's got 4,000 members, but it's called Plymouth Artists Together, but it's not actually an organisation, it's just all artists go on it. Because I've had really strong links with Mike for quite a long time now, since lockdown, he gave me a veterans wall. So I've been engaging with veterans to get them to create, taking them from, some of them from never drawing before, to creating a painting and putting it on the veterans wall. This wall has now actually only this last week been updated. It's now got 2 beautiful Tommies spray painted on it, and it's been painted by my wonderful husband, grey, and it's got up-to-date artwork on it. But I find through art, especially more than anything else I think I've experienced personally, I find that the veterans just suddenly open up. I had one guy in particular who's actually in the Falklands at the moment. He wanted to go over, get some closure for himself. He never really talked about his own Falkland journey, his war journey. We knew a little bit, but he was such a closed book on it, and he'd been coming, well, I run 10-week sessions, they're 10 weeks at a time usually, and he came to, this is the 4th time he'd joined me, and he just suddenly out of nowhere opened up, and I consider that a complete privilege. It's a space of, I always say it's a safe space. You can talk about anything and everything. Whatever's spoken about in the room never leaves the room. And the photograph in the bottom left actually he's a really lovely guy. He's called Dave Cartwright. Dave was an army medic, and he was severely injured in Afghanistan. He has the most beautiful twin sons ever. But Dave had never picked up a brush before, never picked up a pencil before. And he spent quite a few weeks with me talking and painting and laughter and all the other things that go with it, because there's an awful lot. This is when I had to learn about army banter or forces banter, and I'm not very easily shocked, so which is a good thing because some of the conversations can get a bit ripe. But Dave now has built his own little art studio in his back garden, and is gone from never picking up a pencil to creating some amazing work that he's doing at the moment for himself. And to see these guys grow and change and the confidence grow is, oh, it's everything. That's my buzz. Totally. It's not about me, it's about them. It's about their journey, encouraging their journey and allowing them to just be themselves. No judgment, zero judgment. No, well, you can't say that because that's not politically correct. Just let them be them. And I've just seen these guys grow so much. It's an absolute privilege and honor to work
Beautiful to hear
alongside
that,
these guys.
Teri. And I've been down to Plymouth when I came down for the party that we had for Mark's birthday. I think
Mark's 60th birthday, yeah.
That's right.
But he doesn't remember it.
No.
Yeah. I love my husband so much.
You had
If you're wondering what that lighthouse is, it was a windy day when I painted it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Mark did the lighthouse.
I love it, but I've seen myself the fantastic work that you're doing down there, the facilities down there, and what you're doing is growing, and it has got so much power. That's the photograph you spoke about, isn't it, Mark? Earlier.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that was in there, but yeah.
Yeah, we've moved studios as well, so we've got a much bigger studio, so I can have more people come. It's great.
Fantastic. Tell us about the photography.
The veterans, for some reason, love photography when they're not. I don't know what it just keeps them chilled out, and I have the pleasure now of helping veterans with their photography, and I take them out and I ask them what they want to do, and they suggested like the photograph on the right with the light trails was actually taken by the guy in a wheelchair who had never done anything like that before. So once I explained to him how you did it and you put the tripod on, he just got down there and did it, and he loved it. So much so now that he very nearly permanently borrowed my other camera.
Yeah.
And he loves it, and we go out whenever we can. And the other guy does a lot of veteran photography. And little Tommy there was when I was playing wheelchair rugby, and we went up to Sunderland. And whilst we were in Sunderland, we popped down to Durham to take that of the Tommy, and I just loved it. And photography helps people. I've told you before, it's like a brick wall effect when I get my PTSD and it hits. And once it's there, I knock a brick away every time I put a set on a camera until there's enough bricks that are out the way where I can take a photo. And at that particular time, it could be the best photo I've ever taken, or it could be the worst photo I've ever taken. But at that particular time, I don't care. It's not about the photograph. It's about me getting my head back to where it should be.
And it's a tool that Mark and I have learnt to use in everything we do when we spend time with veterans. Like giving them a tool to find a way to do something, to find a distraction, use it as a distraction technique, or to use it as a tool to break into something else. And Mark's brick wall effect has kind of like snowballed and gone through most of what we do now. It's this, okay, you take a brush and then you take some water and that's another brick taken down, and then taking down those defenses to then be able to express what's going on internally. And Mark does that through photography really, really well with the veterans.
Yeah, I did love it. And Sarah was on about the wheelchair rugby there for Help the Heroes, and I know every single player in that team.
You do.
Every single one. And I've had many a battle in, and literally I've fallen up with a wheelchair many times because of them. So yeah, they're good. But
on screen, you can see now this is a particular project that Mark and Teri have championed, and I'm going to You can see in the top left-hand corner a QR code. This is an ongoing, alive request for funding to build what Mark and his fantastic team down in Plymouth are doing. Just tell us very briefly about this project, Mark.
It started from, I mean, I wanted to do it years ago, but I just never get around to doing it. And then after being ill, I had to do something. So this actually became, I started it VE Day and VJ Day this year. The veterans from that, nobody remembers them, or there's very little stories of them, or there's no pictures of them. So I thought, no, right, so I'm going to start 2 of them. So I did the veterans. I'm still doing the veterans. I call it Veterans in Focus because it's me using my head and my camera to focus on something else different. So taking the pictures of the veterans and their families, either with the uniform on, without a uniform, it makes no medal, no medals, whatever, however you want to be, you're a veteran. And we are going to make a digital book for the ones in Plymouth. We're finishing it in February. That book then will be given to Plymouth City Council, and there's this place here called The Box, so they can go into their digital archives. So then future generations have got someone that they can look back on and say, oh yeah, this is my dad, or this is my granddad. We're going to have their service details as well, so we can put them in there, making a book out of it. And I'm doing alongside that, I am doing the Falklands veterans, which I am one, obviously. And in 2027, it'll be the 45th anniversary. So I am now in the process of starting this up again now. And we'll be finishing that in February 2027, in line for the 45th. We're going to present it then to the governor of the Falkland Islands and have it there for them, so the islanders have got a historic reminder of who was there and who helped them. And that's what this is about. And when the veterans come in there, there's some I've never seen before. And before we take their photograph, we sit down, we have a cup of tea, and we just chat, and we laugh and we joke. So that when it's their turn to get their photograph taken, they are completely relaxed. And Dave Coomer, we mentioned him earlier on, bless him. After Christmas, I will be going down to Portsmouth, where he has got, God knows how many people that I'm going to be photographing on the weekend, because they're all Falkland veterans down there, and it's going to be amazing. So I'm doing it for the whole Southwest, so from Penzance up to South Wales.
And then with the original Veterans in Focus portrait project, out of that, we're going to actually create a physical book as well now. We've done is we've asked some of the veterans, they write poetry, to write poems about their experience of war and their experience of their time in the service. So there'll be a photograph, some information about them, and then poetry that they've written themselves as well. And we'll be
or a piece of art,
and we'll be putting that together as a physical book as well as a digital book for the archives in Plymouth.
What we'll do at the end of this webinar going forwards, we'll make sure that links to all these things are sent out to our audience, so you can all be more informed about what we're talking about. If you can, support this project, because this is really going places, and this really does help people massively, as we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm going to scan through very quickly because I want to try and give everyone 10 minutes for questions. So I apologize for skimming through these, but you will have the slide deck after. People in the audience may or may not know that at the moment, veteran care around the UK has been quite sporadic and postcode lotteried, if you like. The system of veteran care regarding mental and physical health has been reliant upon the individual charities in individual areas. Some are well funded, some are not. So that has been the case, unfortunately, but it is improving. For veterans' mental health, we have Op Courage. For physical health, we have Op Restore. We have different operations, Op Nova, for those that come into contact with the criminal justice system. And recently launched in May of this year, we've got Valor, which is coming from central government, a large amount of money, probably not enough, but we want more, but a significant amount of money to start things off, which is going to start to coordinate this regionally, use examples of best practice and start to bring a perspective of bringing everything together to bring best practice from one organisation, one area to another, and highlight the great work that's going on across charities and organisations. A few to very briefly mention on the screen in front of you. Move to Grid is a South Yorkshire-based initiative which went live a few weeks ago. It's only for South Yorkshire veterans at the moment, but it's about signposting, supporting, bringing a live database together for veterans initially in that area, but it might go wider with Valour, as I spoke, and this might be used as an example of best practice. The Forcer Protocol, if any of you have not heard of the Forcer Protocol, isn't a fantastic platform initiative that's come together from a person I'm so proud to be to know as friends, Claire Lilly. Claire lost her former husband, Alan Forcer. He, as a veteran, he lived with complex PTSD, and unfortunately, he took his life after going missing. The Forcer Protocol came in to provide an immediate, important information to families and close loved ones of veterans that go missing in those immediate hours to find those lads and lasses that go missing. It's already saved an inordinate number of military and veterans who've gone missing. So there's a large amount of proof that this works. Also on that page, you've got Rotherham Military Community Veterans Centre doing fantastic work in Rotherham, and they are responsible for the Move to Grid system. In the middle at the bottom, another team who myself and the lads from Depari are very proud to know, Healthier Heroes, operating out of Burnley with integrated care. They treat all manner of different issues across the veteran community, doing a fantastic job. And bottom left, we've got the veteran community at Doncaster celebrating Armed Forces Day earlier this year. There's some significant work going on in Doncaster, used now as best practice in many areas, significantly due to the people in role. I'll mention her because she's doing a fantastic job. Teresa Hodgson, who's the veteran coordinator in Doncaster. Other incredible people, Major retired Adrian Hunt, who's a deputy lieutenant, and significant people in significant roles. And this is what it's about, joining together and working together across regions. And I think a lot of this stuff will be taken on probably with Valour on a national basis, potentially using these best case examples. And Teri's here as well. I don't know what Teri does significantly, but Teri can mention that perhaps in the chat, and we can build with that going forward. So there's a great deal of significant work that's going on. What we need to do now is bring it all together for the benefit of everybody. So I'm going to throw it open to questions. I hope I've left enough time for questions. Over to you, Antonia and Abba.
Yeah, so we have a few minutes for questions, and I can just kind of say thank you to everyone that's been putting messages in the chat. They're amazing. A lot of people that have shared your experience, Mark, and so nice to see such a vibrant conversation. I think we can download the chat later on. So all of those wonderful things that you mentioned, I think they're all being supported by research evidence. So what exactly your lived experience about not being heard, not being understood, not having a sense of belonging, and how through sport or art these things kind of make sense for people to feel supported and feel like they belong into a family. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing those experiences. So I will open the floor for questions. I think there are more comments in the chat rather than questions per se. So if anybody has any question, they can either unmute themselves now and just ask it to our lovely panel. Teri Inman.
Hello.
Hello, Teri.
First of all, thank you for hosting this. It's really been an experience from my point of view. And I'd like to ask Mark, actually, when you left the forces and went through the resettlement process, if you went through it, was there no help whatsoever?
No.
From them to about the services you can experience outside?
No, there was nothing, absolutely nothing. Because I had to have my knee done. I was supposed to have got out of the army like 3 years before, but because of what I was in a Paris first, and my knee got wrecked, and I was either get out of the army or transfer to another regiment. So I did. I transferred to my home battalion, which is the Royal Welsh Fusiliers. But then I volunteered to be in what they call Spearhead Battalion. So Spearhead was like what they call now Rapid Reaction Force. So when I thought I was going to have a nice, easy time, no, that didn't happen. So Bosnia kicked off, and well, not Bosnia. First of all, it was the Gulf, then Bosnia. So by the time I was getting out, every time I was supposed to get out, they had to go back in and do something. Finally getting out, they made me come out, and I had my knee done, and I went into Woolwich Hospital, straight from Bosnia. So one day I was in Bosnia, the next day I was in hospital, had my knee done, and I was then released from there. Whilst I was getting my medical discharge sorted, I went back into Woolwich Hospital for the medical discharge, which I was P8 medical discharge, and then I was literally sent home, and that was it. There was nothing at all.
Okay, thank you. You've just confirmed something that I went through as well myself with resettlement. Richard, I don't know if you've got any contacts that can feed back to the resettlement process, because this is a common problem with the forces people coming out. They're usually given the officers association, the warrant officers association for other ranks, and that's about all you're told. You're not told about housing. You're not told about, you are told, oh, sign up with a GP, sign up with a dental. I mean, from my personal experience, after 30 years, I was 43 years old when I came out. I went to the dentist to sign on. And when I was asked to pay for the x-rays I had, I just looked at them and I went, what? I said, it's NHS. They said, yeah, but you've still got to pay a certain amount. I said, where have you been? How old are you? 43, and you don't know about this? I said, well, I've been in the army. Everything was free. Nobody told me you had to pay when you came out or something like that. So that's just a little idea that you haven't got a clue.
Yeah. Just in answer to your question, Terry, yes, absolutely. There's some significant stuff going on. There's an event coming up in South Yorkshire in Doncaster in December, and we're proud to have the Secretary of State for Defence, obviously, as an MP, John Healy, just down the road. Yep. John is very supportive of the military and veteran community, extremely so. Myself and Gaz in the audience know that. We've been and chatted to him many times. And John is driving a lot of this, and I will definitely mention resettlement at that event. And if you want to send me an email, if you put your email address in the chat, we'll have a chat about this and we'll build it. And if you want me to feed something specific to John, I'll do that.
I will do that. Thanks, Richard. Just to let you know, I don't know if it's happening in all the counties or in all the council offices, but I'm down in Dorset. So Bournemouth, Poole and Christchurch have actually created a post for two ladies to deal with veterans, and I bumped into them at a care home for veterans, and they were asking me, what is the process for veterans coming out of the forces and getting them into civilian life? Because they've met so many homeless people, veterans, and people with mental health problems. They don't know what the process is for coming out. I had to explain to them that if you just retire and you're physically fit, you might be told some job sites and where to go if you're lucky. I said, but for those who are disabled, like yourself, Mark, came through Woolwich or through Tidworth, you get a bit of rehabilitation, then you hand it over to the GPs. But there's nothing about housing or anything like that told. So they're doing a study now, trying to find out what happens to soldiers coming out. So they're very interested. Now, if that's rolling out across counties, I don't know, but it definitely is in Dorset.
You know, Terry, the more we work together and the more we share these stories, what's working in one area is not working in another. I know Valor does intend to bring it all together, and they want to look at housing, homelessness. Obviously, homelessness, there's a significant number of men and women across the country from the veteran community who are homeless. So housing, homelessness, employment, health, it all needs to come together. But we need to, the more we collaborate across areas, Terry, the more we can actually highlight these pockets where it's not working.
Okay, so you mentioned a couple of volunteer groups in across your area. We have quite a few down here. We all met at the university recently.
Absolutely.
And an ex-Marine has started a website as a first port of call for all veterans. Have you heard of it? The National Community for Veterans.
I've heard something about that.
I haven't.
Yeah. It's there's so many websites out there, Help for Heroes, veterans and all like that. He decided to create a one-stop website with all the links on to the different areas. And we were party of that, and even we got our logo on there to help with it.
We were
Because
talking
they
about that
recognise.
before,
Yeah.
about how there's so many different
Yeah.
agencies out there all fighting for the funding for the same thing.
Exactly.
Whereas if you were to just make a central hub and then dish it out from there, it'd be so much easier.
So I can let you know about that website if you don't know about it.
Terry,
That's a great start.
Yes, please. If you could pass that through to me, and I'll make sure that gets the significant publication and publicity it deserves as well.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about that as well, Terry, to be fair.
And
there are a few. Oh, sorry. Go on, Terry.
I'd just love to share you. I mean, we're a CIC. We're a non-profit charity. So what we get in loans or grants, we spend on marketing really to get it out there. We've been very fortunate that we've won 12 national awards in the last 6 months, and this is why a head of social care and a group called SCIE, Social Care Institute of Excellence. They give us the national award, and they're now giving us 4 days of consultancy, maybe some funding, and we've been asked to roll it out nationally. So our pilot is across Dorset. We have 38 clubs, 3,500 people in the last 6 months have come through for loneliness. This is through us, and we got 120,000 hits on our website in the last 6 months.
Terry, so just a quick request from me. I'm now proud to be working with the campaign to end loneliness, and what we've spoken about brought me into that. Antonio was a big part of that journey with me, actually. And what we want to do is, I'm significantly passionate about bringing the veteran lived experience of loneliness on board that. So if you can let me know what you're doing with that, we will have another chat off grid, and we'll build that, my friend, and I'll keep you involved in what's happening there.
Excellent. That's exactly what we need to do. It's collaboration.
Absolutely.
I think several people have shared links to work that they do. So we're going to download the chat and kind of share it back with you. Right. And the recording obviously will also be available for anyone that couldn't be here today. So I would just like to thank you. It's been an immense honor to be here.
Are you ending now then, Antonio?
I think we should be ending because we are kind of over one, but would you like to say something? Would you like to say something?
Yes, quite a few things I'd like to say.
Go for it. I mean,
right.
if I'm happy to stay, as long as people are allowed to leave the room if they need to.
Absolutely. Happy to stay.
Go for it.
Right. Happy to stay.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I'm not a veteran. And so a big thank you to Mark and his wife. What you had to say, I think, was extremely helpful. So I'm really very grateful for that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Kent Arts and Wellbeing is running activities almost identical to yours for veterans in Kent. You know, we are using photography, singing, animation, modeling, arts and crafts, yoga.
Fantastic.
So I would really like to follow up and link with you, because
that would be lovely.
We can learn from each other. I'm a bit concerned. I'm responsible for the Thrive Together project in Kent.
Right.
Now, Thrive Together is the precursor, I think, of Op Valor. And what we're actually doing at the moment is we are mapping every activity, every organisation that is supporting veterans in Kent. We're moving on to assess them in terms of how veteran friendly are they, and what is their governance like. The idea is then to identify gaps, to provide training, and then go on to create networks that are local networks where everybody that's supporting veterans actually knows what each other is doing and can mutually support each other. Now that's happening, and that should be happening across the country to Thrive Together, because it's a national project. So that really hadn't seemed to measure. One of the things we're doing in Thrive Together in the Southeast is that we have a family and carer project and we have a lady from DMWS who's doing a graduate. She's doing a thesis, university supported on this, and it does seem to me that she ought to be talking to you. And I think she's actually based in Plymouth.
No way.
So that's the other. So so there's a link there.
That would be useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really.
And
actually,
the other thing is
Ken, I think this is a big conversation we could have together.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say is my colleague who's working with me has just retired as an SO3 Life Skills Officer. So his whole role for the last decade has been actually working with people immediately prior to release.
Wow.
And he would, I think, tell a very different story from that which is being told. Because of the investment that's been actually put into that more recently. And so if you're actually looking to understand what's happened recently, then my colleague, has actually been doing it and has only retired in December.
And I'm very interested to have a conversation with you, my friend. If you can make sure I've got some contact details for you, we can definitely carry this on.
I'll stick that in the post, and I'd really like to follow up, with Mark and Teri.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I'll stick. If I stick my email in the chat, perhaps you would then take the initiative of coming back to me.
Absolutely,
no
yes,
problem,
yes, definitely.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments, and totally appreciate what you're saying. That we need to collaborate. We need to see what's going on across the UK in a more coordinated way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that we were talking with Richard last night, and I said one of the biggest things we need, it's not just the collaboration, it's the open communication. Let's get communicating with each other and talking things through. Let's work together on projects and build projects. I mean, Mark and I are funding the Veterans in Focus project ourselves, and but we're happy to do that because we know how important it is. So it's like, and obviously the GoFundMe page as well, but it's...
Well, especially as now I've been asked by a lot of other veterans now who are not in Plymouth.
Yeah.
But up country, even up like in Doncaster as well. Would I do the same kind of thing up there? And I went, why not?
Yeah.
I think we all need to get it done. And I took a photograph the other day, and this is how powerful photography can be. I took a photograph today of a Falkland veteran who was there with his two children.
Yeah.
And they were looking at what I was doing and really excited. And I went, so do you want to take a photograph of your dad then? And she went, I don't know how to do it. I'll show you. So then I showed her how to do it, and she took a photograph of her dad with his medals on and everything else. And once she'd taken that photograph that she did, she cried because she looked at the photo and she went, that's my dad.
Yeah.
And it's
powerful.
It's powerful.
Very powerful. Yeah. Let's get these conversations going.
I think it's such a vibrant discussion. I've never been to such a wonderful networking event, honestly, and we
can literally talk for the UK. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, amazing. And by no means, you please continue this, and also the Tackling Loneliness Hub. I think Abba mentioned in the beginning we have like a specialized group that you can all join and kind of keep the momentum going, and just using that space if you want to contact others or bring them others. And it's called the Stigma and Prejudice Group, and it's wider obviously, but stigma is a very big part of talking about loneliness, especially for people coming back, because I've heard you, Mark, saying so many times that you just have a different language. You have a different way of expressing that other people just don't get. And that's the core of being lonely, feeling lonely, is because you just feel, not understood by others. So just not fitting in.
Yeah.
So,
Antonia, do you think that covers like across every culture in the UK as well?
Yeah.
That same principle, that.
So it's the same principle across cultures worldwide.
Yeah.
So it is the language barrier might be a barrier that has to do with the language itself, but also just the language that you speak in your everyday life.
And
I think another one as well now is going on to that is there's a stigma around now in the UK where I don't know how to I don't know how to, foreign people out here now who speak a different language, they feel intimidated because they're speaking their language, but they can't speak ours. And that must be the same for us if we went to another country and we couldn't speak their language, how lonely we would feel.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't be able to express ourselves or ask for anything. And it's you know, this is happening in our country as well. And it's not just about veterans, as I said before, it's not just about veterans who are lonely and the stigmas which bring this loneliness out. And that's what needs to be helped with as well.
Yeah. I think
And I
like
think, oh,
sorry,
go.
I
No,
was
go.
going to say that no, loneliness isn't just in the veteran community,
No.
but I do feel that that veterans, when their loneliness is a different type of loneliness in some ways, because it carries more than just that they feel that they don't belong. It's more than that feeling. It's the shame they carry from war. It's the difficulties, the things that they've seen and they've been a part of. It carries so much. It's a different kind of loneliness, in my opinion.
Right.
No, you're right.
Absolutely right.
Like when I look at the wider community, so I work with different communities as well. I can physically see the difference between the different types of loneliness. I think that like I don't think it's not one
it's not one thing. No.
Yeah,
It
it's not one
wouldn't
thing
be.
fixed. Like there's no one thing that will fix everybody.
Yeah.
You have to tailor make these things now, rather than trying like we put a sticky plaster on everything and think it'll all be okay. But actually that won't work for some people, and it's learning how to kind of like work with those different organizations, those different cultures, those different people, to be able to help those individuals in a more not appropriate way. I can't think of the word. I'm thinking
Sort of tailored to their needs, basically.
Yeah,
because we try to kind of say this exists out there, but that will be appropriate for certain people and it won't be for other people. And I think that's at the core of me and Richard's work as well. In our research, we always see there are nuances to loneliness and it's not the same. And actually, I think that you've expressed something, Mark, that is very, very underdeveloped, like your anger, because normally loneliness is kind of linked with shame and sadness, but you were also angry because you didn't know how to adapt.
I was like a mini.
Yes, I'll come to you in a moment. I
was like a mini Tasmanian devil. That's the only way I can describe it. 1 minute I'd be fine, and then the next, the slightest thing, and it could be anything slight, bang, I would go off. And I never get violent when I got angry, and my wife would say something to me and I would just answer it back with attitude. And then she would just look at me, and sometimes the look was enough.
I've got a good lip.
Or other times it was a slap around the head and say,
no, I've never slapped a man.
Get your act together and behave.
But I have,
Darren also agrees that about the anger side. Did you want to ask something? Just bringing you in the conversation.
I just thought Teri made such an important point about how to better tailor the services to who we want to reach. So it's really great to hear about the shared spaces where veterans can get together and share that banter. But I was wondering, I wanted to hear from any of you who have experiences with this. If when we're thinking about loneliness and isolation, sometimes people with besides those physical spaces, people who have limited mobility or other challenges can be harder to reach. So my question for you is, have you come across any ways or methods that you can share for connecting with those veterans? I'd love to know what's worked for you.
With the work that I call it work, but it's all voluntary. With the way that we have combated that is to make sure that the spaces we're actually physically moving. Our Creative Roots, it's a community interest company that I'm a director of. We're physically moving that at the moment, although it does have disabled access. There's a lift to get to the room, etc., etc. We're moving to a warmer room because I work very closely with cancer sufferers as well. So we have people who have either had surgery, having surgery, recovering from cancer, or their families and friends. They come and they do art with me once a week. So we became very aware that we needed to make sure that the room was slightly warmer for them, whereas some of the veterans guys like it a bit cooler. So we've had to learn to make sure, and I'm actually I'm disabled myself. I use a wheelchair, so we've kind of made sure that we've tailor-made our community space specifically for anybody to be able to come to. So it's wheelchair friendly. So we're on the ground floor. It's flat. There's no steps. It's easy to enter. It's easy to exit. There's relevant parking very close. It's on a main bus route. It's got its own little kitchen area. It's got accessible toilets, and we've gone over and above so that we can include all of the community. It was one of the biggest things that I was determined to do, that we were going to be available to all of the community, regardless of your abilities.
Teri, could I ask you, how do you get to those people that can't get out of the house because they are disabled?
Yeah, so people who can't get out to the house, I'm not very good with technology, I'm not going to lie. I don't do this very often, the Zoom thing. So that's been a little bit of a difficulty for me, Teri. So what we started is like a creative roots art club. So people
online,
they can join like a little art club, and then sometimes somebody, like if they've got a carer, especially, maybe the carer will come and pick up like the equipment we're going to use that week. So we do FaceTime rather than
online.
Online, because I'm not very good.
Online.
I don't do that bit. This bit. So we might have FaceTime with them. So we might be making a wind chime in the studio, and then they're making a wind chime at home at the same time. So we're actually piloting that at the moment. It's very much in its early stages, and actually it's been a lot harder than we thought it was going to be.
Okay, so
I'm always up for a challenge.
I've come across another voluntary group down here called Philo.
Yeah.
And they provide free transport for people. They started off taking people to doctor's appointments, hospital appointments, dental appointments, collecting medicines from the pharmacy. But I'm now getting in touch with them saying, if they've found anybody suffering from loneliness and stuck at home and can't get out, would they go and get them and bring them to our clubs?
Yeah,
there's a bit of collaboration. I don't know if that exists around the country.
I don't know, but I'd look into that. The other thing we have done is people have volunteered to go and pick people up. So say there's like a lady that lives close to me, I would pick her up on the way into the studio, or things like that. We've got a hoist in our car for a wheelchair, so sometimes Mark will, if I need him to, we'll do 2 runs.
Yeah.
But I'm still very much on a huge learning curve, not so much with getting people into the studio, but to include people that aren't able to come in. We're still learning.
That's a wrap up now.
Oh, I think we might need to finish with one note from Kenneth, who has raised his hand, and that will be, I think, the final for today. But again, as we said, please feel free to connect with each other. So Kenneth?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we've actually piloted using a virtual reality headset. We've worked with veterans in care homes.
Well done.
And it works incredibly well. I mean, having done it, one lady said, well, I'm going to Jordan tomorrow. It's for them, it was actually real. It's got a lot of potential, but it's expensive. Because most of the films that are available are not necessarily suitable. So I think you need to develop a capability of making things that are appropriate for veterans, and particularly if it's people within dementia or cognitive impairment. But that's an area that we would like to develop, and that could then be used. Pardon?
Can I just jump in there from what? My Sheffield Hallam University base is the Advanced Wellbeing Research Centre, and they have academics and engineers and people who design and build and manufacture on a bigger scale. initiatives such as what you're talking about, there might be a conversation that we might be able to put them in contact with you, and maybe we can work together going forward with that.
Be a good idea. I mean, I've had dialogue with Kent because they've got a similar setup.
Amazing.
But yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Abba, for hosting us and for doing all the technical work. And thanks, everyone, for this lovely, lovely, lovely conversation. And Richard, Terry, and Mark, most of you, most of all you, for bringing us all together on this topic. And thank you so much for being so open to sharing. I look forward to seeing you in one of the future events. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank
you very much, everyone. And there'll be a short survey that will pop up on your screen as soon as the webinar's ended. And we'd really appreciate it if you could just take 60 seconds out just to let us know how we're doing. And please join the group as well to continue the conversation. It was so interesting and we loved hearing all your stories as well. So thank you for sharing, and hopefully we'll see you soon at the next webinar. Take care, everyone.
Bye.